Morning, John. I'm Lisa Lofdahl, and this is my shop, and I'd be happy to show you around.
Let's take a look.
All right. So I got 3 rooms. The first room out here I use for storage. It's nice to have a separate room that's clean and I can keep things neat and tidy. So I got a big old pile of coal here for my coal forge, and then just shelves of stuff I don't use all the time, and it's nice to have out of the way. This is my oxyacetylene setup. I put it out here so when I'm making sparks, I'm not sparking at it, so it rests out here when it's not being used. Back behind the door here, I got my steel supply for my various custom projects. I like to have it here so it's not underfoot and I'm not tripping on it, and it's kind of organized so I know what I got. And we move into the big room. So this is the largest of my 3 rooms, and in here I do all the welding and the forging. So I sort of have it separated out. So this is fabrication, welding on this end, and then you move over here, and this is where all the blacksmithing occurs. So it's the forges and the anvil and all that stuff live over here. So you'll recognize a drill press, a handy tool for everything. So this is a welding table. I just got it this year, and it is a delight. It's the first time I've ever had one, and it makes welding, it just completely transforms the ability to weld. The thing about it is that it's flat. And when you're trying to weld, you want things to be flat. If they're not flat, then everything just moves, and you want to hold it so that when you weld, it doesn't move. The heat from welding wants to make things move and turn them out a square. So with this, you can use all these fantastic little fixtures in the holes to put your item that you want to weld where you want it to be, and then lock it down so it's not moving. So when you come in here and weld, you know that it's going to stay exactly where you put it. So this is an awesome new thing that's really changed my workflow a lot. Let's see, moving over here, got my welder here, and here's my little bitty plasma cutter, which is awesome. It's kind of all I need. I don't have monster equipment because I don't tend to work on monster things, so it works just fine for me. Lots of vices. There's a vice there, a vice here, a vice there, 2 vices in the other room, so have lots of vices, but they all work for a different purpose. So those are probably one of the most useful tools in the entire shop is something to hold it so you can work on it is vice. Here's my cart that's got all the fixtures that work on the welding table. It's nice to have them here so when I'm done I can roll it out to the storage room out of the way and have them all neat and organized, which is nice. So then moving over here to the forging area. This big guy here is one of the things I've been dreaming about having for years before I moved into the shop. It's power hammer. And what it does is reproduces what I do on an anvil, but without me having to do it. So this top ram comes down and hits this bottom ram. So think of this as the hammer and this is the anvil. And I run the whole darn thing with my foot over here, and that allows me to do all sorts of things that I can't do by hand, or makes them way easier and faster. This is a hydraulic press. This piece comes up and down, and it's also run with a foot. So this I use mostly for bladesmithing. To make Damascus steel, I use it, and then also when I want to change a profile drastically from something big to small. And sometimes I use a power hammer, but sometimes I use this. It's more controllable. Over here, we have my coal forge. Take the box out that's keeping the air from coming in. And so here, I actually make a fire with the coal. There's a fan underneath and a grate in the bottom, and the air comes up through once the fire is made, and it makes it really hot. And then it goes right into this super sucker hood and straight out. So this is nice to be able to forge inside. When I used to have my shop before, I didn't have a chimney, and so I'd roll this coal forge outside in front and light my fire, and it would be looking like I was making a barbecue. But now I can forge when it's cold and rainy and all the other sorts of times because I've got a chimney. So that's been awesome. So moving over here. Here's my big old anvil. This guy's about 350 pounds. It's a nice, big, sturdy anvil. You can see them smaller sometimes, but the thing that's nice about this is is that it has a nice big flat surface on the top that allows lots of things you can't do on a small anvil. Behind us, propane forge. So I use this mostly for knife making. You can see it's got a very small chamber in here. So the gas comes in the top, comes roaring down through these two tubes, and then it's got this hole in the end. So it is knife shaped, which unlike the coal forge over there is not. So it heats it up evenly, but it doesn't get so hot that you'll burn the metal, and the coal forge will. So this I use primarily for knives. Over here, this is a leg vise. There's another name for it too that I'm not thinking of. But the thing that's interesting about this is that it's a specialty blacksmithing vise. So John, if you come around to this other side over here, you'll see that this back jaw is connected all the way down to the floor. And so what that does is allows me to put a piece of something hot in here and then just wail away at it with the hammer, and I don't break the vise apart because the forces comes right down through the leg. So this is made to be able to wail away on, unlike a mechanic's vise or one of the other vices that would just break apart because they're not made for that sort of impact. Over here, we got my belt grinder and all of my various belts. So I use this for lots of stuff. I got it primarily for knives, but I end up using it for all sorts of things. To take burrs off of metal when I've cut it, and then for knives, to profile the knife, to put the bevel in the knife, and I also use it to shape the handle. And I have a dust collection system here, but I only turn it on when I'm shaping handles and have wood, because I don't want metal sparks with wood dust, because that's a boom and a no-no.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. This big tub of water is a very important blacksmithing tool. Use it not only to cool down metal that you've heated up, but you also use it to take advantage of metal's properties that when it's cool it won't move, when it's hot it will. So if you have a piece of metal and you want to isolate just a piece that's hot to bend it or to move it, the whole thing might be heated up in the forge, but you can just dip the end in here that you don't want to move, and then the piece that is still hot, you can then take over the anvil and move. So it's to cool and also to differentially manipulate the heat in a piece of metal. Under here is all of my knife making metal supplies. So this is high carbon steel. It's a specialty steel. You cannot make a knife out of just regular mild steel, like an I-beam or things like that, because there's not enough carbon in it to ever harden. You can send it through your heat treatment all you want, but it'll never get hard, which is part of the reason forged and fire drives me crazy. Here, just one of my several bandsaws. This arm comes up and down, which is great. And I use this primarily for just cutting off metal. The vise in there swivels back and forth, so you can do angles, and that's really been fantastic. And you can stick it in there and just let it run and turn around and do something else. So that's been a great addition. So then we move over to room 3. And this is my finishing room. So the noodles, the plastic noodles, try to keep some of the dust and grime and dirt from in that room from getting into this room. So this room I try to keep a little bit cleaner. So if I have a client that comes in, they can actually sit down and have it not be completely dirty, and we have a place to lay out their plans or talk about what they'd like to do. And also, if I have clean things I want to do, I can lay them out here. So that's nice to have. This is my heat treat oven. It's digitally controlled, so I stick my knives in here for all of the heat treatment process. Take it to different temperatures, whether I'm thermocycling or whether I'm getting it hot enough to harden. And when a knife is ready to be hardened, pull it out of there at the right heat, and I throw it in the quench oil here. And that, boom, it makes it super hard, but also brittle. So then the last step in heat treatment is to throw it over here in the toaster oven and put it in here for a couple of hours at 400 degrees and temper it. So it keeps the hardness and the strength but it takes away some of the brittleness. So that's the last step in that. Underneath, you see a whole bunch of different woods in different colors. All of these woods here have been through a process called stabilizing. And what that is, you take a piece of wood, you stick it in a vacuum chamber, and you insert resins. And the resins go into all the pores of the wood, fill up the pores, and the value of that is that it keeps the wood from absorbing water, from drying out, from cracking, and that turns it into a really good handle material. So you can take a wood that would not be strong enough to be a handle material on its own, and once you stabilize it, then it can be. So this was a piece of ash. I think it's got, I don't know, maybe black dye in it. That's kind of cool. You don't have to have dyes. These are some different burls that I sent, and that's just a clear dye. So this is all just to have cool, neat colors to make handles out of for knives. And so luckily, Anthony, my buddy at Real Antique Wood, when he sees a little scrap of wood that has some sort of cool design or grain or something in it, he'll throw it my way and I'll send it off to get stabilized. So that's lucky for me to have. This is a mini mill. It's a milling machine, but a small one. And I got this primarily to be able to make guards for knives. And guards are this separate piece of metal that slides onto the blade of a knife. So the blade is here, the guard is there, and the handle goes on the back. But the trick about the guards is that the connection between the guard and the blade needs to be really, really precise, so you don't see any gaps or holes. So you can do it by hand, or you can use a milling machine to get much closer and save you a bunch of time. So that's why I got that bad boy, and I'm still learning how to use it. Other sort of crucial tools over here, lots of sandpaper. This is just a flat block. And I use it to make handles flat, other things flat, and then another value of the flat block is to use this height indicator. So when I'm making a knife and I want to make sure that it is straight, I can put it down here and run it around this height indicator and make a little notch along the edge of it and turn it over and do the same thing. And then I can precisely figure out what is straight on a knife, and then use those guidelines to go back out to the belt grinder to work there. Here's this is a vertical bandsaw, and I use this predominantly for cutting handle materials or cutting other sorts of little finicky things that won't fit in that other bandsaw. What else? More storage in here. Gotta have your mini fridge because it gets hot. So got lots of nice cool things in the mini fridge.
All right. Well, it sounds good. I'm looking forward to making the video where we make something.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. No, that'd be a lot of fun. We have to figure out what we want to make so I can get prepped for it, but I think that'll be really cool.
Cool. Well, thanks so much for the tour.
You betcha. Thank you, John.